situation. So, first of all, I want to say, so when Krista, my Greek sister, I'll tell you later why I call her my Greek sister. When she said that that was a 20th time in Morocco, I almost felt like that was such a message to me. But that's not my second time. It's almost like you're telling me I need to 10x my game for Morocco. I'll work with that.
Yeah. Looks like I need to spend more time in Morocco. Last you guessed it, right? So I'm just back from Morocco Energy Week, and it was very much a fantastic conference where I also had a chance and the opportunities as well to be the chairman. And the two or three things that actually stand out from this conference that I want to talk to you about, right? And most importantly as well, I want to talk to you about a gentleman that I spoke to, the CEO of a very, very interesting company, definitely making things happen at the moment in Africa. So stay tuned. We're going to talk about Morocco Energy Week, and we're going to talk about as well Spiro. I'm sure you guessed it already, right? See you in a minute. Hello. How are you doing? My name is Tony. I'm the founder and CEO of Renewables in Africa. So what we do is very simple. We raise awareness about renewables energy in the African continent, but also across the world. So if you're looking to step into expanding to the continent, work with us because we can help you with three things: the visibility, the lead, but also the deal. So we are your eco bridge to that. Or if you're looking as well to tap into your sustainable pathway, we can also help you as an eco bridge, right? So we can help you with carbon footprint assessment, carbon reduction strategy, and so on and so forth. So we can definitely help with that. So Morocco was fantastic. That's what I have to say, right? So, and it's a country very much growing. If you've not been paying attention to this market, you want to be able to do that. Or you want to be doing that. Definitely, trust me on that. So there's a couple of things that really stood out from the conference that I thought I need to come back to discuss with you. But like I said as well, there is also a company that really, for me, it's really making wave at the moment. I met them already at the Africa CEO Forum, and I spoke to the CEO. So I had a chance to have a snap interview with him. And we're going to come back to that a little bit later. So stay with us for just a couple of minutes, and I'll be able to share part of the interview that we had. But now, let me come back to Morocco. So why is Morocco so important and interesting? So you need to understand, because if you don't understand that, there's something that you're missing. So in this industry. So, all of the time, so we talking about whether or not it is possible to properly embrace energy transition, switch to renewables, not only renewable, but have, like I say, a strong component of your energy coming from renewables. So we're talking about that, and there's a lot of pushback in the continent saying that we're not ready yet, we can't do that with renewables, and so on and so forth. And talk about all the different challenges out there. And let me be real and clear. Yes, there's lots of challenge with that. Yes, yeah. But it shouldn't, like I say, remove all the opportunity, all the huge potential opportunity as well that's yet to seize. And this is why, for me, Morocco is such an important country. So, first point, that's what I want to say. Morocco, you need to understand. So, they made a purposeful decision, like I say, to make a big bet on renewables. So, back in the days, in the 60s and all, so Morocco was like many other countries in Africa. They were very much dependent on fossil fuel. They don't have a lot of fossil fuel reserve, obviously, on their territory. So they were obviously importing a lot of that. They were dependent on that. So they made a conscious decision. That's why I say always start by decision. They made a conscious decision to go renewables, obviously, to tap into the resource that they have in-house, basically in their country, right? So that's why they were able to turn it around and get to the point by now they are a country that run, and from generation side, I think, by more than 40% on renewables, and they want to go even further. They want to go to 52% by 2030, if I'm correct, right? So they've been able to push that. Also, Morocco. So up until 1990s, so Morocco only had, I think, 60% electrification in rural areas, right? So they were able to take it all the way to 100% by 2018 or something like that, because they had a program clearly to drive that electrification rate and make things happen. So they, for me, are a great example of a country that make the decision that they want to obviously bet into the green industry and turn it around and making things happen. And nobody can say that Morocco is not a big economy in Africa. So if you look at the GDP, you will see Morocco is definitely in the top five, right? The top five in Africa. Yeah. So one of the most important economies that we have on the continent. And just say that again, they made a conscious decision. That's what I'm saying. So for all the basically argument I'm hearing here and there that we can't do renewable, no, that is not true. Yes, you gotta have solar and wind that are intermittent. Not all renewable sources are intermittent, by the way. So look at how do you combine the two to make things work. And also battery storage, which is what they betting on as well. Basically, you can look at how do you balance things out, right? So from that standpoint, it was very much something that was, I mean, that definitely I wanted you guys to experience. And the second thing that I want to talk about. So Morocco is definitely a country changing significantly. Whoa, the first thing is when I arrived in Morocco, we were actually in Rabat. The last time I was in Morocco was probably like 5-6 years ago. And I was in Marrakesh. So I went to Rabat, right? The capital city, that's for sure. The capital of decision making. And Rabat is just a fantastic place. That's again for people, obviously, not believing that you can have beautiful places in Africa, have a great life. You definitely are, right? So if you look at Rabat, I think I do my best. So in the next few days to share some pictures. Beautiful city, very clean, very green, vibrant, right? And that, like I say, those are things that you want to see. It's a great country to go to. The funny thing is, you'll be even surprised to know that. So Will Smith was having a concert, on I think on the second day of the conference, because they had a music festival, the Mawazin Music Festival. That was just beautiful. That's one of the things that I want to say. So yeah. So the second point, I know I've been digressing a little bit. The second point. So the conference itself, very interesting, right? So the managed they got it focused centered around much more private sector as opposed. I think it was clearly enabled, if I understand correctly, by the public officials, but they really wanted this conference to be led much more by private sector as opposed to the opposite, so that you can. So Morocco is betting big, definitely on the private sector, because they know that ultimately they are the one that's driving the sector forward and pushing the country forward as well. So what the government do, right? It's to set the framework, right? And also make sure that they have the regulatory regime in place, the regulatory framework that will allow people to come from outside, also people inside, to invest into the sector and to develop, right? And it's kind of beautiful to see. So that's how the conference was. So we talked about all the different strengths of Morocco, the fact that obviously they're very big now on solar. I think they have about, if I'm correct, I think it's about 2 gigawatt of solar. So and about 1.5 gigawatt of wind as well. But they want to take it to, like I say, they want to have 52% of renewable by 2030. So if you look at that, they want to have 12 gigawatt altogether of renewable, in the country. So that's very interesting, yeah. And they're pushing forward solar, wind. We also talked about hydrogen. Morocco want to position itself as a hub as well for hydrogen, as well because the country, it's very close to Southern Europe. So clearly there is a strong export market there, yeah. But they also want to use that to also develop the local market. That's what we talked about. We talked a lot about as well the local supply chain. How do you strengthen that? How do you boost it so that it can become a lot more resilient? So yeah, that's what we want to talk about. And that was a lot of what we saw on day one. On day two, we talked about the actual infrastructure that's going to guarantee that Morocco stays a leader, in the next future for the continent, but also abroad. And actually, that's a very interesting point, talking about abroad, because one of the things that we realized, and I think that was Chris, which is the CEO of NGR, so that's the company putting together the event. What she said is actually, across the travel, what she's saying is, so people now across the world have identified Morocco as a key destination. So they're not just playing now on the African field, but also on the global field. And that is what you want for our leading economies in Africa, right? And that's what I'm saying. Again, Morocco, it's a country that standing out for that. So maybe one little detail that may sound, I would say, I wouldn't say trivial, right, to you, or maybe not important, but it says a lot because like I said, there is in Jita, right? It's, I would say, country where they speak Arabic. That's like, I think it's Darisha, which is the Moroccan Arabic over there, and the other language also is French. But the whole conference was in English, and it was again a purposeful decision from the authority there because they wanted to showcase that Morocco is open to the world, right? And don't just talk about or do business only with francophone countries. So that I thought was interesting, and pretty much all the key companies over there, so they were very much fluent in English, and it shows you already. Like I say, I tell you, this is not a country that is technically English speaking, yeah. But yet you could see for pretty much all the people over there, everybody was able to express themselves. So it clearly shows the intent, and what they're putting in place to make it happen. So that for me was beautiful. So it was a great conference. So there's so much I can talk about that, right? But the key thing I want to sort of, I wouldn't say end up, yeah, show that here. For the second time, so I met the CEO of Spiro. So Spiro, if you don't know, it's the largest EV player in the continent at the moment, and they are really making things move. I can tell you. I already noticed that in Africa CEO Forum where they brought Davido into the conference. That was impressive. Everybody was watching. But I had a chance this time around to sit down with Kaushik Burman. That's the name of the CEO, and have an exchange about what the company is all about, some of the key things that they have in mind, and I wanted to share with you this interview in two parts. And that's just one part of it because guess what? So we have a full podcast that we recorded with him. So we're going to be able to release that very soon. But also an article that we would publish in the next few days. But let me already give you the snap interview that I have with him. So just going to have a short part first and a couple of comments and we go for the second part. So there we go. And let me know what you think about Spiro. Yeah, let's go.
Okay. Coach, again, we meet after the Apology Forum in Abidjan. That's great. Congratulations for that. Thank you so much. Energy and the move. But at the end of the day, what is Spiro? You need to tell me what it is and why Africa.
Firstly, thank you, Tony, for having me. It's great to chat on this topic. At the core of Spiro, we are Africa's fastest growing energy distribution network powered by battery swap infrastructure. And battery swapping basically enables mobility on a very rapid scale. Let's understand that in Africa, public transportation is missing, so any delivery is happening through delivery drivers. Yeah. And so battery swapping is an infrastructure which is an alternative to gas stations. Yeah. And these are powered by batteries. So as a result of all of that, we are essentially doubling down on this whole energy distribution infrastructure. And we are a vertically integrated company, which basically means we have presence in upstream, manufacturing, bikes, batteries, infrastructure. We have a huge emphasis on downstream, which is to lay out the energy infrastructure. All of this upstream to downstream is a backbone which is enabled through technology platform that is built by Spiro. So we have proprietary tools and platforms that we have developed in the last couple of years.
Yeah. So when I talked to you so early on, so you came up with a concept which I love. Right? You talked about industrial renaissance. So when you stood, I was almost imagining a frame, reenacting a beautiful room here. I was okay, industrial renaissance for Africa. What do you mean by that?
So what I mean by that is, if you look into the history, the last 300 to 500 years, whether it is India or African continent, essentially both these land masses are extremely rich or were extremely rich, but they were used more from a trading opportunity standpoint. In Africa, which is rich in natural resources, very rich in talent and people, this is an opportunity now where through the advent of advanced industrial technologies, AI, you culminate all of this into driving transformation in the society and value creation in the content, as opposed to just viewing this as a trading hub. And to do that, you got to stay committed to the market and build that foundation level and upskill, retool people with the right skills. And AI and the cost of technology has become a leveler right now. So there is no reason for Africa to say we can't use AI because the cost of data, the cost of technology is so low. There is hardly any difference between a developed market or an African. Talent is young, so all you need are enterprises who come with that long-term mindset to create high value in the market.
Excellent. And I know you're betting a lot on the youth of Africa and also the local workforce. And for that, you came up with the Spiro Academy. What is
Yes, I obviously had a chance to. That's the first part. I know the volume is a little bit low because we're in the conference, and I'm obviously encouraging you just to raise it up a little bit, right? But like I say, we have a podcast coming up, and then we sort of had a chance to develop a little bit more some of the content that we developed there. So we talked about the, so I would say the industrial renaissance of Africa, which is very good. And just as the interview stopped there, we're talking about the Spiro Academy, because that's something that they're developing with it because they believe into the youth of Africa. But let me just go back to that because there's a second part. So this time around, please raise up your volume a little bit, and then let's carry on with our question.
Talent and people. This is an opportunity now where through the advent of advanced industrial technologies, AI, you culminate all of this into driving transformation in the society and value creation in the content, as opposed to just viewing this as a trading hub. And to do that, you got to stay committed to the market and build that foundation level and upskill, retool people with the right skills. And AI and the cost of technology has become a leveler right now. So there is no reason for Africa to say we can't use AI because the cost of data, the cost of technology is so low. There is hardly any difference between a developed market or an African. Talent is young, so all you need are enterprises who come with that long-term mindset to create high value in the market.
excellent. And I know you're betting a lot on the youth of Africa and also the local workforce. And for that, you came up with the Spiro Academy. What is the Spiro Academy and who can join it?
So Spiro Academy is an enabler for the youth of Africa to participate in this industrial transformation. So in Spiro, we've used Spiro Academy over the past 12 plus months in developing coursework which is relevant for the automotive industry and electric. The switching from ICE to from combustion engine to electric mobility. There's a lot of coursework that we have developed. We have partnered with many universities. We have developed a lot of programs where we are taking incoming talent from diploma programs, from STEM, from top universities in humanities, training them through the Spiro Academy and deploying them in various parts of the value chain, be it in manufacturing or in downstream energy network deployment, commercial roles. So as a result of that, think of this as our own internal university to train people, retool people, upskill people. In fact, even for example, in Kenya, the motor line is being run by women, and a lot of women who were from unskilled to semi-skilled have now gone through Spiro Academy, quality coursework to make sure that they are able to assemble the bike on the conveyor line confidently, and they achieve a certification as well from Spiro Academy that keeps giving them sort of grade. So in a way, it is a massive enabler to reskilling and upskilling talent.
And that's a massive achievement. Congratulations on that. Definitely during the female, obviously, local workforce. My last question for you. You're a growing company. All of what you're doing requires cash. How are you funding yourself, and do you need more investors?
We will require a range of investors. Thus far, we've had significant investments in both equity and then some amount of debt to fund Spiro's growth. But it is a growth engine, so we need growth equity from the tier 1 list of investors who are looking at Africa again, as I said, as a long-term opportunity, more patient capital that needs to come into an infrastructure.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Kaushik. And let me say congratulations for the job that you're doing. So this is Kaushik from Spiro. Thank you.
As you can see, very interesting conversation with Koshi that we had over there, right? And it's a very ambitious company. So like I say, you're going to hear more from them. Like I said, we have a full podcast that we're doing with them. We also have a article that we're going to be doing more, like I said, in the next few weeks and more. So as I'll say, so Morocco Energy Week was just a fantastic event, right? So if you have not attended that, so as I say, we do our best to give you insight in the next few weeks. But yes, it was very much, it's a country that one needs to watch, that is growing, a market I'm sure that would interest pretty much everybody in the industry, whether you're coming from the supply side, from the investor side and users, you will find it interesting. Like I say, we do our best to share as much information as possible. So I just want to wrap up and say that I want to leave you with a key question that I asked to people right at the beginning today in my opening speech. And I believe it applies very much with you in the industry. So you may want to ask yourself this question. So I end up with that, and I like to find out from you. So what is your answer to this question? Don't hesitate to drop an email, to like the video, to comment, to share people that you know. This is Tony Chu. I just wanted to give you a little bit of insight about what happened in Morocco, in Rabat, because I was there for the Morocco Energy Week. So leave it with this video. So let me know with your response. And with that, I'll see you tomorrow. With one day, one concept. Yeah. And we keep on talking. So have a beautiful Sunday. Take care, guys.
From Renewables in Africa. And I want to start by asking you a question to all of you, every single one of you. And my question is very simple. What actually brought you into this industry? Why did you come into this industry? Have you reflected on that question recently? Is it by design, purpose, or maybe the wind blew you up this way and you ended up staying with the other choice? Just like this question.